Alright, hi, it's Emily, and we're going to talk about the MVP-10 transport ventilator. It is on our transport isolette that we use for external NICU transports. So the first thing to be aware of is there's an on and off for the ventilator gas source. When you are arriving at the facility, you can plug in your air and oxygen into their outlets at the referring facility. When you get ready to leave the facility, you're going to turn on your oxygen tanks and flip on your air compressor right here prior to disconnecting from the wall if you have a baby on the ventilator. So I just wanted to mention that before we go over how the ventilator functions. So here's our ventilator gas source. We're going to flip this to on. For this particular unit, any of our gases coming out of either our flow meter, which this goes to our bubble CPAP that we can talk about later, or our ventilator, we're going to adjust our FiO2 right here with this blender. So you're just going to dial in your FiO2. We do have an analyzer right here. However, once you turn it on, it's very difficult to get it to turn back off. In the NICU, we typically estimate our level of FiO2, so if you don't turn this on, it's not the end of the world. Once you turn it on, you may have a little bit of difficulty getting it to turn back off. It's temperamental. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dial in our flow rate on our vent. So we can dial it up to 8 to 10 liters per minute. And you can hear that our air compressor just kicked on. And right now it's in CPAP mode. So this ventilator is only capable of doing two things, either CPAP or continuous mandatory pressure control ventilation. So right now we're in CPAP mode. If you want to increase the amount of PEEP that you're providing, you're going to turn this counterclockwise, and we see here we increased our PEEP to 5. I like to switch it over to CPAP before I set my pressure PIP level, just that way I know exactly where my PEEP is. And then we switch it over to our CMV, and here we're going to dial our PIP, so you can see with a very gentle turn of the knob, we're adjusting our peak pressure. So that looks like it's about 22. And as far as setting our I time, you're going to set your inspiratory time here, so it would be 0.3 to 0.4 depending on the order, but those are appropriate I times for an infant. And then we're going to use our chart, which is hanging on the isolette, and based on the I time that we have set, we're going to set our expiratory time to determine the rate. Now right now our rate is excessive, so let's take a look. Let's say we want a rate of around 30, so with an I time of 0.3, we're going to set our E time on 1.5. So we'll just dial this, and that's going to get us a respiratory rate of 33, and I also recommend counting. Now with this particular ventilator, when the baby initiates a spontaneous breath, it's not going to get anything. So the chance for ventilator patient asynchrony and things like that would be increased, but I would say it's pretty much like it's bagging the patient for you. So okay, so I turned the vent off for the time being. I've shut it to off on our gas source. Now if we are back to UT Health and we are going into the NICU, we're going to plug in our air and oxygen into our wall outlets, and then we can turn off our tank and our air compressor here. What I would do when transporting a baby that is intubated and on this ventilator is make sure that you have your NEOT or your flow inflating bag plugged in here, and then you're going to dial in your flow here, and if my videographer can come up and a little bit closer, you can see that right now it's in the off position, and you just turn it to the flow that you want. So you can adjust that. Normally this is where our bubble CPAP is plugged in. When the bubble CPAP is running, you don't have to worry about turning on this gas source. You're just going to run your 8 liters per minute from here and dial in your desired FiO2 here. Okay. This is our ventilator circuit, and we see here that we have a baby HME and our test lung is in line. So if you know that you're picking up an intubated patient, I highly recommend that on the way to the referring facility, you plug in your air and oxygen into the outlets on the rig. Make sure they've turned on the medical air and oxygen for you. And on the way there, you can set up your vent and just do a practice run to make sure that everything's functioning properly. A common place that this will disconnect is right here. So make sure that when you're checking, if you experience any leaks, this may have come apart. Now this little piece comes with the ventilator circuit, and we're saving these because right now the type of circuit that we have doesn't come with an adapter that fits on this part right here. So we are saving that little piece and just wipe it down between patient uses. The next thing to be aware of is where these tubings go. So you can follow this tubing to the back of the ventilator unit over there, and that will show you where those are located. If you wanted to do CPAP, this does plug into the Fisher-Paykel flow generator set, and that's why we have this circuit. However, since we use a lot of bubble CPAP, the next time we order circuits, we're going to get the one that has the adapter built into the line right there, so we don't have to worry about getting an extra piece. All right, thank you very much. As always, if you have any questions, please make sure you see me. One more thing to mention, when the vent circuit does go through this portal, we really want the baby's head down at this opposite end of the bed, because when we raise up the bed, it's going to tilt this direction. So you may have to do a little finagling to get the vent circuit in the proper position up at the opposite end. So just be aware of that. Thank you.